So first of all, as a senior correspondent, of course, you've been following events in Russia, including the shifts in relationships between Turkey and Russia over time. So, I mean, how would you characterize the development in relationships between these two countries recently?
Well, I think I'd characterise it as a roller coaster. I mean, the up and down of this relationship between Russia and Turkey has been like diplomatic gymnastics, worthy of the Olympics, actually. Because just a few months ago, remember, Vladimir Putin was saying that Russia had been stabbed in the back by an accomplice of terrorists. That was a reference to the shoot-down, of course, back in November of a Russian warplane in the area around the Turkish-Syrian border. Of course, it was carrying out airstrikes against Syrian rebels. And now they're talking about being, you know, partners and strategic allies once again. So there's been a huge U-turn in this obviously very, very conflicted and very complicated relationship.
What's in it for Russia? I mean, what interest does Russia have in developing relationships with Turkey?
Well, I think it's got a couple of interests. I mean, economic interests, of course. I mean, I think Turkey suffered more economically as a result of the sanctions that were imposed by the Kremlin after the shoot down of the plane. But the Kremlin suffered too. I mean, it also lacks economic opportunities. Its economy is moribund. It's in recession, and so it wants to get Turkey back as a trading partner again. That relationship is worth billions of dollars, remember, and Turkey is seen as a strategic location through which to channel gas into Europe, and so that's a deal that we could be hearing a bit more about over the course of the day during this meeting. But it's not just economics, of course. It's about military significance. I mean, the situation in Syria has escalated beyond control. There's already been one Russian plane shot down by a Turkish interceptor. Both sides want to make sure that that doesn't escalate. And then there's the more general security interests in the Black Sea. I mean, of course, Russia has its Black Sea fleet there. The gateway to the Black Sea is the Bosphorus. That's controlled by Turkey. And so, of course, you know, they want good or at least neutral relations with that country.
Some commentators or experts describe, I mean, what they see as a will on the Russian side to poise itself or position itself as basically an international power that it's good to be friends with, and to sort of, well, basically draw in other countries and relationships as a counterbalance to the West. Would you agree with this?
Well, I think that would certainly be an objective of the Kremlin, although, of course, they don't come out and publicly sort of set that out. But, I mean, look, I mean, since the coup in Turkey on July the 15th, this whole meeting, this is the first visit that Erdogan has made outside of the country since that failed military takeover. It's taken on a new dynamic, it's taken on a new symbolism. And for Turkey, of course, Erdogan, although he denies this, he's saying, look, you know, we have other strategic partners, other strategic options other than the West. Erdogan's very upset with the West for the criticism over his crackdown against perceived opponents inside Turkey. 18,000 people have been arrested. The European Union has been very critical of that. There's also a suggestion in Turkish circles that the United States may have in somehow given the green light to the coup, because the person that is, you know, believed to be responsible by the Turks lives in the United States. And so Erdogan is angry by the West. He's angry that he hasn't been getting enough support. And I think there's a sense in which he's using this trip to show the West that it has other options. And from the Russian perspective, they're quite happy to embrace a country that wants to break away from the West, even if they don't think that's going to happen. The idea of sowing discord in NATO, Turkey is an important NATO ally, sowing discord in Western institutions by embracing Turkey, that's in the Kremlin's interest.
Finally then, of course, the event that caused this recent breakdown of relationships was, of course, the Turkish downing of a Russian military plane by the border to Syria. Now, this, of course, was an event that was very emotional for Russia and was played up or got a lot of room in Russian discourse and Russian media. I mean, is this an event that will still have to be discussed, or is this something that can now be moved past?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? I mean, the Russian media and the Russian president made a massive thing out of this shoot down. I mean, as I said, you know, Putin came out and said it was a stab in the back. The Russian Defense Ministry then came out and made the retribution more personal. You may remember it released video that it got from its spy planes saying that it was documenting the flow of oil from ISIS-controlled areas of Syria and Iraq into Turkey, and the Defence Ministry accused President Erdogan and his family of directly profiting from that and being involved with that trade. So it became a very personal attack. But you're right, the death of the pilot and another service person who was killed trying to rescue the surviving pilot as well. So 2 people died on that day from the Russian military. There will be discussions about that, we're told, about compensation. It's not something the Turks want to talk about publicly, but undoubtedly behind closed doors there's going to be talks about what the Turks can do to make this bitter pill of rekindling a friendship with President Erdogan more palatable.
Finally then, I mean, what do you believe that we could see coming out of this sort of meeting between Putin and Erdogan?
Well, we're told we're not going to see any agreements signed today. This is more of an exploratory meeting. It's an opportunity for them publicly to come out and say, look, we've put our differences behind us, at least, and to talk about some of the issues they can cooperate on. There's not going to necessarily be any agreements, but they have to talk about Syria. No matter what they agree, no matter how friendly they decide to become, they're still on opposite sides of the conflict in Syria. Russia's a strong backer, of course, of President Assad, and Turkey is perhaps Assad's biggest, rival in the region. But there's also finance. There's also economic deals that need to be done. The lifting of the ban on Turkish workers, the Russian tourists can flood back to Turkish resorts, and of course the energy deals that are so important for Russia's economy. Russia wants to build a pipeline through Turkey to supply gas to Europe as well, and that's a major project, and I think they'll probably be discussing renewing that initiative as well.